back to Geeks of the Roundtable. Before we actually get started this week, a little bit of a PSA. I was just telling these guys right now, but we are now an official podcast. We're available on Geeks of the Roundtable geeksoftheroundtable.podbean.com. Now they have a little webpage when you go to that site, and there's a player there where you can actually listen to the podcast. That said, if you actually have your own podcast source or preferred podcast source, you can also find us on Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, Audible, TuneIn, and iHeartRadio. And we're waiting for more. So that's pretty neat. Now, before we get started here, we've actually got a full house of Canadian cosplayers here today, which is quite fitting for an episode where we're going to be talking about cosplay. But before we get started, how about we introduce everybody? Coming back. Record 3 weeks in a row. He's becoming a regular geek around here. Again, Canadian cosplayer, Instagram streamer, crotchety old man, Messiah Complex cosplay.
That is
accurate description.
It's only the third episode, and we knew right away, probably 10 minutes into the first episode, that is my role here. I am the crotchety old man. Yeah.
Ever since you said that in the first episode, I keep wanting to introduce you that way, and I keep forgetting. So
no. By all means, you have my permission. That's the role that I fulfill. So
awesome. Right below Jeff here. Well, actually, we've got two special guests with us here today. First off, right below Jeff here. And now you're going to have to confirm if I'm reading this right here, but has cosplayed over 20 versions of Wonder Woman and completed all 151 original Pokemons as closet cosplays. Canadian Comic Cutie, what's going on, Cutie? Is that right? What? 151 Pokemon?
Yeah, actually, oh gosh, I hate mirror things. See the thing right there? It's hard to see. But that's
little
actually
board back there?
Yeah, that's a poster of all 151 of my cosplays.
And you did all these last year?
Last year. I started on January 1st, and I ended directly at the end of December. And on the 1st of January this year, I released the Poke Wrap in all of my images and stuff on it, and that's on my YouTube channel. So
Poke Wrap, as in like a rap, like a yo-yo.
Yeah.
Like,
have you not watched Pokemon?
No. Pokemon was after my time. I'm a little bit older than Pokemon. Yes.
So yeah, in the cartoon, they did a Poke Wrap at the end of every episode, and they went through a certain number of Pokemon, and then eventually they released the whole wrap with 150 in it, and then I added Mew at the end because he was the last one added.
Interesting.
Yeah. So each one of the images is in the Poke Wrap and completed on my YouTube.
Oh, very cool. Very cool. Finally, but certainly not least, going on 10 years of cosplaying now already. All-around geek at heart, Loki Queen Cosplay. What's going on, Tanith? How you doing?
I'm good. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, thanks
for joining us. Don't know anything about Pokemon, but...
Yeah, I feel like the Pokemon craze kind of happened a couple years after I got out of, that type of stuff.
Yeah.
So I just missed it. I have a lot of friends that are into Pokemon. Same thing with Power Rangers. I just missed the Power Rangers thing. See, you're a fan of Power Rangers as well.
I am.
So I just missed that phase myself.
I'm too old for all of these things.
Yeah, same here.
I feel like I'm a baby.
Yeah, well, I have a feeling we're probably all I don't know. I feel like us three are very close in age, but Creed, I think you might be a little bit younger than us. Yeah, definitely. Hey, listen, first off, how about we get started with a simple question? Or maybe it's not. I don't know. But how have your own cosplays changed over the years? I want to talk about a little bit of the evolution of cosplay, right? Classic to modern, old school versus new school cosplay when you started versus your cosplays now. Tanit, how about we start with you? How have your cosplays changed over the last 10 years?
Well, when I originally started out, it was one of those go small and kind of get into it that way. So when I started out, the very first cosplay I did was just like a closet Star Trek with the shirt that had the little comm badge. from there, I guess I started seeing other cosplayers who'd been doing it a while and kind of building myself up. So I think over 10 years, I've gotten a little better, I hope.
Mom, your second one was a My Little Pony.
Called out.
Yes. Cutie, how about you?
Well, I started off doing like the whole nobody did cosplay in the area. So I was that weirdo at the convention that was dressed up and everybody looked at me like I was crazy. So when I say I started as a closet cosplayer, I literally mean in the closet. Like nobody knew who I was. I didn't tell anybody, it was secretive because it wasn't the norm, right? So, but I've upgraded a lot and I actually love budget cosplay, love closet cosplay, and I love working with thermoplastics. So I go from everything from bodysuits to cardboard to armor builds to everything. So, and I never stop trying new materials because I get bored and I want to keep going. So they've changed a lot. I have like, I did my Lego Wonder Woman out of pure cardboard, hot glue, and duct tape. And that was like one of the hardest ones I've done to date, but also the simplest. So, I mean, everything changes as things go. And I don't do a lot of screen accurate because I find that it stresses me out too much because I'm scared I'm going to mess up and I don't want to do like, that because then people call me out and I feel bad. So, yeah, it's definitely changed a lot, but it'll always change, I think, for me, anyways.
What about you, Jeff?
I think mine was more a priority shift. When I first got into it, the first one I ever did, I think you've done it too. I did Jane Cobb from Firefly, and it gave me a chance to connect with other Firefly fans. And it's a niche show that was on like 10 years ago or whatever, so it was cool to kind of connect with them. But then when I came out as Negan, and I realized that I could affect people emotionally, like give them like not connect with them through the fandom, but give them a connection to the fandom that they wouldn't normally have. I really reveled in that. And then as I kept on cosplaying it and got bigger into the cosplay community, I found myself being more concerned and worried about what other cosplayers were thinking about my cosplays. So I started to get more into details, spending more money, getting more meticulous about things because I was worried about getting judged by other cosplayers. And I feel like I lost sight of what brought me to the dance in the first place, which was making that connection for the people that are there, regardless of the event. So that's, for me, the way I do cosplay hasn't changed. I'll buy suits, I'll make stuff, I'll buy stuff, I'll commission stuff. I don't care. But why I'm doing it and how I go about doing it is now back to how I started. I want to give people an experience. I want them to have access to a certain level of fandom that they normally wouldn't have. So I do now tend to do more quote unquote popular characters, but characters that people know: Spider-Man, Batman, Superman, Iron Man, Thor, whoever. I'm doing those more often now so that little kids, old folk, doesn't matter. Everybody knows what I'm doing. Everybody gets to experience it and everybody loves it. So that's how it's changed for me.
I feel like you hit on something there that I think, right, just by looking at everybody's face, that everybody's experienced here. What's that psychological change that happens in your mind that all of a sudden you're more worried about what other cosplayers are thinking of your cosplays rather than, having fun, right? Because let's be honest. I mean, if you're not cosplaying to have fun, what the frick are you doing? So what causes that?
I think it just comes and goes when you see all these people and everybody starts critiquing you. And I think like it's kind of like high school, right? Like it's like the jocks, the geeks, all these things. And then once you start hearing it so much, it starts weighing on you. And you eventually have to, like you said, break out of it. And that's kind of why I stick with budget cosplay and closet cosplay as well as my regular stuff, is to get back to my roots where it was like, it was fun. It's like, can I achieve this? Can I not achieve it? And it really grounds you in that sense. Like I do 24-hour cosplay challenges as well, where I start and then I finish in 24 hours. And it gives me that like drive and that boost to craft and just fall in love all over again. And I think that is missing in a lot of these other, areas where people do critique a lot. So it's very touch and go. So it's still high school, even though people say it's not, it is.
Agreed.
Yeah, I'm not going to tell you how long I've been working on this last cosplay. 24 hours. Holy cow.
Probably doesn't help that a lot of it's set up almost like a competition, like who gets to be a guest
Absolutely.
and who doesn't. And then all the social, I don't want to, we could have a whole episode on the perils and evils of social media, but
Yep.
chasing the likes and chasing the followers.
Oh, we are. And
right?
me and Cutie were talking about that actually
Yeah.
beforehand.
Yeah.
We are going to have an episode on that. And
Yeah.
hey, you're welcome to come back and talk about your experiences that way, Cutie, if you'd like. But yes, definitely.
That, I think that fuels it as well. So it's not just, is my costume better than your costume, but you got 8,000 likes on that, and my thing got 80 likes on it. So yeah, so I don't think that helps either. So you've really got to work hard to detach yourself from all that and reprioritize it. And I think that's, as you do it more, that's what you kind of come back to. You realize, not toxic, I hate using that word, but how easily you can get sucked into that.
It's true.
Keeping up with the Joneses and trying to compete and everything. Who cares, man? Just go out there and have fun and give people an experience that they're not going to get anywhere else.
But you also find that, going to the con and seeing or knowing how hard you've worked on whatever you're wearing, and then seeing the attention of even the photographers going to all these other people with more accurate or, whatever it is they're looking for. And you kind of want that, but at the same time, you don't want it. And you work towards being that person that they're going to want to photograph and pay attention to. And I think it's kind of a high, maybe.
Of course, yeah. It's always nice to have people stop you and be like, "Oh my gosh, I want your picture." Like that's always super good too.
Yeah, I think it's hard to deny that the attention is fun. I mean, it's great when you're walking, somewhere with your costume and people want to stop you and they want to take a picture with you and they want to talk to you, and you can see the effect and the smile it puts on their face. But when they're going to somebody else and they're not coming to you, I can definitely see how all of a sudden that can play on your head for sure.
Yeah, you just book your own shoot. You just go and you book your own shoot at a con, then that way, you at least can experience it and have the con photos as well.
And you learn that, but I think a lot of people coming in don't realize that, and it does affect their self-esteem. It affects how they see their costumes, and it does make them feel that need to be more screen accurate, which is not a thing. You don't need to be screen accurate.
No, just have fun.
Exactly.
How do you all feel that, whether it be technology, the accessibility to different materials, has affected how we cosplay and make in general? I mean, look, everybody has, well, not everybody, but a lot of people have 3D printers in their houses now. You can go to Michael's and get Warbler and cosplay foam. And I'm just saying, like, the availability of cosplay materials and tools is so great now, from laser cutters, like I said, to 3D printers. How has that made, or how does that change the way that we build and make?
Well, for me personally, living in Alberta, we don't have a lot of crafting supply stores at all. And it's super hard to get things in and it's expensive to ship them in. So we have one store that sells foam other than Michael's that is decently priced, and they're always out of stock. So it's really hard to find a lot of the materials. So you kind of have to order off of Amazon, which takes whatever, and it's expensive too. So for me, material wise, I try my best to get as much material that I can locally, but it has become those things that I have to outsource. And doing that, even with COVID happening, I ordered Flex Bond and Warbler and all that type of thing, and it didn't get here until like 4 months ago, and I ordered at the beginning of COVID because everything was shut down. So materials for me are complicated, but having them on hand, I always try to make sure I have enough so I can always start a new project and not worry. But it's hard for me to get materials. I don't know, what's it like for you guys?
I'd say it's fairly easy for us. I tend to commission out most of my stuff. The last time I actually sat and built an entire thing was within the first 2 years of cosplaying. But I definitely see a lot of places around here, cosplay supplies. There's a store that you can walk into in Etobicoke and buy everything you need, So I didn't realize a place like Calgary would be so difficult. I figured out east maybe, but shipping is definitely, if you're buying from places like China, which a lot of the places that you get cosplay supplies from, It's China. It does take a while.
I was going to say, it's for me, it's even more than that. I tell people all the time, because people ask me, like, I want to get into it. How do I get into it? And I'm like, there's never been a better time to get into cosplaying, because the access, not just the materials, but just the cosplays themselves, the suits, the whole thing is so gigantic. As the geek and nerd culture grew, so did cosplay culture.
Yeah.
And now you can just hit a button and just buy a suit.
Exactly. Yeah.
And sometimes it'll cost you like $80. And yeah, it might take like a few weeks to get to your door, but it'll be suited to you. You'll try it on, it'll be fine, and you can just go to a con and guess what? You're a cosplayer now. Like that's all it
Absolutely.
takes. So I think this is sort of like the golden age of cosplay, and I'm hoping it's going to continue on through this. But yeah, I mean, I don't live far from Tanith, and so getting material right now is not difficult. The motivation to work the material, that's where
Yeah.
COVID really sucked the life out of wanting to even like I'm just in the middle of making a Peacemaker helmet. I've got it 3D painted or 3D printed, and I'm just sanding the piss out of it, and I've got the filler on it, and I'm sanding it still, and I'm just like,
How your fingertips doing, bud?
it's such a grind, bro. I'm going through so much sandpaper. It's such a grind, but I know it's going to be worth it. It's going to be great, but getting up that motivation, it's all through COVID, man. That's like hats off to you guys for working on stuff over the break, because man,
I didn't.
Yeah, it was hard.
COVID's been a killer for me too. Like
Yeah.
I've been working in the same costume for over a year now, trying to get it done. So yeah.
Same.
Yeah, I do a lot. Like,
Dude, I've done like 30 cents.
I was going to say, didn't you do 12 today? What are you talking about?
Well, okay, so far this year to date, I've done 64.
Just this year.
Just this year, but that includes everything from closet cosplays to full-on cosplays, and then some boudoir looks, but not all of them. So
64.
I mean, yeah.
Where do you put it?
This whole basin is just jam-packed with crap. Like, yeah, it's packed. So I try and sell most of my cosplays once I'm done using them too, because I mean I don't need them that often. But yeah, so I mean I do still push and drive and do all those things, but I do it as a model as well as a cosplayer. So for me, even though cons were shut down, I still was doing all of these things because that's kind of my brand and business. So if I stopped, I kind of lost out on a good chunk of my income. So I still pushed forward, and I tried, like I said, bringing it back to being closet cosplay. So even if you don't have time, or you're not going to a con, or you don't have a ton of money, like have fun with it. I used a sheet with googly eyes for a Pokemon. Like none of these have to be over the top and expensive. They're just fun.
When you're putting out that many cosplays in that short of time, are you finding that you're reusing a lot of the stuff, whether it be props or parts of No, really?
Yeah, I'm terrible for this. I've been doing better. This year's been my goal to kind of like try to reuse things, because I have that like really bad attitude where it's like, this is the pieces for this cosplay, it goes in a bag. This is the pieces for this one, and it goes in a bag. And then I don't look at it again unless I'm going to wear it or shoot it. So I've been trying my best to kind of break that bad habit, because it's a bad habit. I shouldn't do that. So I've been getting better, but yeah, I don't generally recycle a lot of the stuff.
Yeah. Just to go back off to the question I was asking earlier, actually kind of a second part to the question I was asking earlier. I see a lot of comments online when people are posting about more on the prop side of things, when they're posting about props that they've made, and when people are posting about 3D printed props or laser cut props, and you get all these comments, oh, you didn't make it, it's 3D printed, oh, blah blah blah, you didn't do the work. How do you think that, again, that technology that we have available at our fingertips now has also affected the way that people view what we do as cosplayers?
I've never used 3D printing, and that's just because I don't. It's not because I don't think it's a form of cosplay, or that just because it's 3D printed, I didn't make it. People think that once it comes off the printer, it's ready to go. Like, you still have a process to do. And I have no patience, so that's why I've never done it. Because I do have pieces that are printed, but I've never touched them because I'm like, this is too much for me. I don't have patience. So anybody who has the patience to touch a 3D print and actually finish it, I bow to you. That's a skill. Like, that is a skill.
I mean, Jeff said that he's working on his helmet. My Loki helmet that I did actually work on throughout took 4 or 5 months of sanding and filling and sanding and filling and gluing and painting. And so for them to say it's not, like, it's a lot of work.
When you guys are working on 3D props, and obviously this is for Jeff and Dennis, because you haven't done any really. When you're working on 3D props, do you ever find yourself obsessing on wanting it to be perfect?
God,
Like,
no.
even if you can still see one print line, you're not going to be satisfied, and you're going to keep sanding until it's perfect.
No, not me.
No.
Oh, so that is
No.
just me then. Oh,
It might, well, it's definitely not just you, that's for sure. Like there seems to be sort of two camps, right? Like there's like the 501st style camp where everything has to be completely accurate, everything has to be exactly the way it has to be. And then there's the other camp where it's like, do you know what I'm doing? Do you know what the character I'm doing? You do? Cool. Like, why do I have to be a slave to accuracy if I'm still giving them that experience and they're still getting some enjoyment out of it? I'm going to spend 8 months working on some little piece because it's not the exact. Screw that, dude. I don't have to. Who's got time for that?
Right.
I've got
I use
kids
the
and a
excuse-
grandchild and a full-time job, and like I'm gonna just sit around here and just worry that the clasp on my Boromir cosplayer are not the exact clasp from the movie.
Yeah, get good. God.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
Yeah.
I mean, we really are in the kind of golden era of superhero and comic book movies right now. I mean, they're everywhere. Actually, some will even say that we're probably on the tail end now because we've got so oversaturated with Marvel movies. Do you guys think that's actually, again, affected a little bit the way that people cosplay? I mean, a lot of people now are very into doing these super screen accurate costumes. I've never been that way. When I make a costume, it's always my costume. It's always my version of a character. But with all these TV shows and movies, do you think that's affected a little bit how people go about cosplaying these days?
Absolutely. That's what I said earlier. As the cosplay culture is tied into the geek and nerd culture, and that's why 20 years ago or 25 years ago, before we had all this, cosplay was an extremely niche hobby within an extremely niche hobby going to cons. Because even here in Ontario, Cutie, you were saying you only had 3. We had like 1. We had like a Toronto Star Trek convention. And you would go to that, and the convention would be well attended, but there would be like a dozen people cosplaying, which I don't even think they were calling it that at that point. And they had to hand make everything because we didn't have Amazon and you didn't have websites where you can go just buy stuff. So as anime exploded with popularity, as things like Pokemon exploded with popularity, and then as all these geek and nerd movies came out and these universes got built, the cosplay culture just came right along with it. And now that's why here in Ontario, before COVID, Tana, you can probably back me up on this. We pretty much you could pretty much go to a con every weekend if you didn't mind driving within a 4 or 5 hour time frame.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know, Kitty. Sorry, but it's crazy here. And like JS was saying, like some of those cons will have 200 people in them, but then some of those cons will have 25,000 people at them. So it's like you got to experience a broader range. So
like you go to one con one day and drive an hour that way and go to another con the next day, and then an hour that way and go to another con the day after that. And it's
crazy here. So yeah, as the geek, as long as that geek and nerd culture stays high, and as long as the general public knows who people like Iron Man and Batman and Spider-Man and those people are, I don't think you're going to see that dip off happen for cosplay culture.
Especially in the bigger cities like Toronto and area.
Yeah. It's true. Now I'm curious as far as, because this panel is interesting. I don't know about on your screen, but on my screen, me and JS are up here, and then you guys are. So we're okay. So we should at least address the elephant in the room. It's a different experience for guys to cosplay than it is for girls to cosplay. Yep. So I think we should probably explore that a little bit. If you guys, especially Loki and Cutie, if you guys want to give us like just a little taste of what it's like being a female cosplayer, both the good and the bad. You don't have to necessarily just be like, this is all terribleness, but give me the good and the bad. Give me one good thing and one bad thing about what it's like to be a female cosplayer in a hobby that is largely dominated by female cosplayers.
All right, you want to go first?
I can give it a shot. Yeah. I guess the good thing is that regardless of your cosplay, if you're pretty, you're going to get attention. But that's also the downside, because if you're not, you're going to feel that even if your costume is really, really good, you're kind of invisible. I think there's a certain standard for a lot of people, and as I said earlier, like photography, even if you're not booking for yourself, trying to get the attention of anyone is really difficult if you're not young and pretty and whatever.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many pros and cons of being like a female cosplayer, because as soon as people hear that you cosplay, the first thing their mind goes to is, oh, you do like, very skimpy cosplay, and you
Oh,
do
you
yeah.
have
like,
an OnlyFans.
right?
Yeah.
But yeah, like,
I mean, we talked about that the other day. It's a stigma
true.
in the
Yeah,
cosplay
of
world now.
course.
If you're a female
It is.
cosplayer, automatically it's assumed that you have an OnlyFans.
yeah, it seems to go hand in hand. And so everybody, as soon as it's like, oh yeah, I'm a cosplayer, they're like, oh, like, what do you cosplay? And then if I show them some of my stupid cosplays where I'm fully armored, they're like, oh. And they're like, you made that? And they're all like weirded out that I'm not just showing them some boudoir cosplay that I have done, which is also stuff that I do. So I mean, I have both ends of it where I do both builds and boudoir. So for me, it's like the guys assuming that just because I'm a cosplayer, I'm going to give them all the attention in the world, and that, if they kiss my feet, I'm going to bend over backwards to give them anything and everything they ask for, which is also a huge downside. It's like, come on, just because I show a little bit of skin doesn't mean I need to be disrespected or, shown eggplant pics all day or things like that, which is like,
Sorry.
When
I'm
you
like,
get
how
to
do
the
I
con,
say
you can
this
be
censored?
touched.
Exactly. And that's a big thing too, is like, I don't mind taking pictures with people, but half the time it's they always want to grab at you. And
Yeah.
it's like, dude, just ask me. Like, be like, hey, can I put my arm around you? And I'll be like, no. Or, instead of just coming up and grabbing. And I think that's another thing that's terrible being a female cosplayer, is that you're just expected to take it. And it's as soon as you say something, then you're instantly labeled with another, horrible name of being this person who's not personable, and don't approach
Yeah.
them, they're nasty. And it's like, dude, I'm standing up for myself. Like,
Yeah, and there's kind of two sides to that argument as well, too, right? I mean, it's not just about, look, it's my personal space. You don't need to be touching me. I don't know you. But don't touch my freaking costume.
exactly. Yeah.
Like, I've been working for a year on this costume and these props. Like, don't touch my stuff, right?
Yeah,
Like, I don't
I've
mind
had
taking
people-
a picture, but don't be touching me and prodding me and touching my armor and like, no, like, get away, right?
I've had people walk up to me and knock on my breastplate just to see if it was armored. And I'm like, excuse me? And they're like, well, I just want to see if you actually made it or if it was
Wow.
cloth. And I was like, this is not happening. And of course, I lost my crap, because if anybody knows me, I'm kind of vocal. So, and then of course, I'm labeled something different because I stood up for myself. And it's like, you can't do this. Like, what is wrong with you? Like, consent, please.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people have a hard time even with what cosplay is not consent even means.
Exactly.
So many people in the community, you will ask them what that means, and I hear somebody of them say, "Well, I just want you to get my permission before you take my photo." I'm like, yeah, I mean that's part of it, but I mean that's not even the most egregious thing that's going to happen to a cosplayer at any type of a con. I've been physically and verbally abused in a costume, and I try to tell people what it really means. Cosplay is not consent. Is there shouldn't be an interaction between the two of us. Any interaction between the two of us should happen exactly as if neither one of us is wearing a costume.
Absolutely.
It shouldn't make any difference that one of us is wearing a
That's a
costume.
good way of
You
putting
don't
it,
put your hands on me. I'm not going to put my hands on you. If you want to take a cool picture, that's great. Come on up and ask me. We'll take a cool picture. And even if you want some like weird little setup, like when I would do Negan, people would automatically come and they would get down and they'd want to have me like hitting them with the bat and stuff. I'm totally down for all that. That's totally cool because the conversation happened and there was consent in the first place, right? You can't, but I would not then go around and say, get down on your knees. I want to hit you with my bat, because now that's A, I'm not getting consent, and B, that's just weird and creepy. So, so I think going forward that interaction as though you're in line at the bank or you two are looking at heads of lettuce in the produce department, you wouldn't say or do or touch or do any of those things. So why is it just because I'm wearing a costume suddenly that's all okay? And that's coming from a guy's perspective. I can't even imagine. I mean, we all deserve to be protected from any abhorrent behavior at a con or an event or whatever. But I mean, we don't get it anywhere near as bad as the girls do. So yeah, by all means. But I really wanted to get your guys' perspective on cosplaying as a female, because I know it's different than what we do, even though there's much fewer of us. Much fewer? Far fewer.
Yeah,
Far
I
fewer.
mean, I mean, it comes to that point too, like being a female as a cosplayer, the children are amazing. And like, I say this to everybody, wear dancers tights. I know that men have to wear dancers belts to hide their junk. Us as women, when we're walking around, kids are at the same level as they are with you guys. So like, I always wear dancers tights, which are just thicker nylons. That way, if they touch my skin, they're not touching my skin, right? And the little girls, their face lights up when they see Wonder Woman and all these other things. So it's like, as a female cosplayer, that makes it worth it. Seeing a empowering woman dressing up and doing what they love is amazing. And so it's kind of the same thing as like encouraging them to like, hey, how's it going? Talking to them like that. It makes it all worth it. So there's a very big plus side on that too. So, I mean, and a lot of times little girls never ask for consent, but they're very excited and they run up to you. And that makes,
Yeah, and that's understandable, obviously.
exactly. And their parents are all usually very good at ask for the consent. So,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's, I don't know. It's nice.
But I do think as female cosplayers, we're hypersexualized immediately from the get-go.
Absolutely. Yeah, Wonder Woman. Everybody, the first question I get all the time wearing Wonder Woman is, "Oh, are you gonna use your lasso on me?" It's like seriously.
Now, okay, so let's unpack that a little bit. Do you find that then when if Fan Expo here in Toronto, I don't know if the Calgary one's similar, but Fan Expo here in Toronto, when you look at the cosplay guest list, if there's 20 guests, 18 of them are girls. And probably, I'm going to say 12 to 15 of those girls specialize in sexy cosplay. In fact, a few of those girls will actually have like explicit content that they're selling at the con as well. So do you find that even though that's empowering and anybody can cosplay any way they want, do you find that's a detriment to you guys that don't explore that avenue, but people assume that you do because that's what's getting highlighted at the cons?
Well, for me, I don't mind that. However, the fact is that it comes along with like the screen accuracy and stuff like that. I do things that I want to do. I dress them for my body that I'm comfortable doing. So even if somebody like I've been approached and been like, oh, hey, like you dress as this, like would you ever do this type of shoot? And they show me something that Jessica Negri has done, or like some other cosplayer, and I'd be like, no. Be like, oh, well, they did it. It's the same costume. Like the slave rogue or whatever you want to call her, where it's like it's tattered and torn, but the story behind that doesn't appeal to me. So I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that. So I think it is a personal thing, and as long as you address it and you set your boundaries with your fans and your following or the people talking to you, then you're, in my experience, I'm okay, because they understand this is my no-go zone. This is where I stand. So as long as they respect that, they can ask me. It doesn't mean I'm going to do it, and it doesn't mean that I'm going to copy or do something because it's popular.
But are you worried that it sets the expectation? Is more what I'm talking about.
Not go ahead.
I have a daughter, so I worry a little bit that it sets the expectation, and the kids coming, like little girls coming into cosplay, are going to look at that and think that it's expected.
Yeah.
So
and
that's
more to the point too. But even people approaching you at the con, like Cutie was saying, like a lot of the times they'll just come up and assume that that's what you're going to be doing. And I'm wondering if part of that assumption is based on the history of and what's led to that. And it sucks that has to be there, but I mean, I don't know how it's. I think that's how it's gotten to that point.
Yeah,
so
I think the biggest thing is sex sells, and it's always been that way, no matter what it is. And unfortunately, that brings the people to the cons, and it brings their numbers to those guests. So I don't think they'll ever sway from promoting or pushing the more, sexualized cosplayers and that content. Again, it comes down to
cosplay's not the first business to sell sex and
exactly
to sell women's bodies as a selling point to bring men in. Let's be honest.
If it sounds like I'm poo-pooing it, by the way, I am not. Well, no, I'm a big believer in cosplay is for everyone, and you should be able to cosplay anything you want, any way you want, as long as you're not hurting anybody else. Again, it just comes back to expectations. And I don't have that perspective on my end because I'm a guy. So
I think it comes down to too is teaching like younger children that that's their version of something versus the accuracy of the costume. So I mean, not that you have to dress screen accurate. We've already talked about that. But when it comes to those characters and they're seeing, say Vampirella at a con, and they're like, whoa, and you're like, yeah, okay, well that's not appropriate for us. We're gonna go this way, and then you explain to them what's going on. Or somebody wearing a more sexified Wonder Woman, like that type of thing, being like, this is her actual costume, and kind of showing that they're taking it this direction, but this is the actual direction that cosplay or character goes.
Okay, good. No, thanks, guys. I wanted your perspective on it because mine's.
I do want to say though, it's not exclusive to like the higher up female cosplayers that do get granted as guests at the big cons. A lot of the famous male cosplayers have made their money off of the same things and have got those spots because of the same things.
For sure, yeah, it's not exclusive. I didn't mean to sound that, but there definitely is, and like Cutie was saying, and Janice was saying, the majority of cosplayers are women, but the majority of the fans that come out to the conventions are men. So you're obviously going to try to cater to the market, right?
Yeah.
Sell the most tickets you can
Yeah.
sell. And you're going to do that by highlighting, yeah, you might have one or two dudes there, and one of those dudes might do that. But then you've got 15 girls there and 12 of them do that. So there's
Yeah.
the imbalance is there for a reason, and I get it. And I'm not upset at the imbalance. That's not what I'm trying to say. But again, expectations. It's all I was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the one thing I dislike that they do at the cons, like I do boudoir, I do all those types of things. So I'm not against any of that in any way, shape, or form. But I don't like that they can advertise their half exposed imagery at the table while the underage children are there. That to me
Agreed.
kind of rubs me a little bit the wrong way. Like it is a family friendly event. And I mean, if they are cool and kosher and they pass all the rules and guidelines, cool. Like again, not body shaming or like shaming anybody of any sorts. But when a kid comes up to your table, shut that book. Just
Yeah.
tuck it to the side. Because
And
I
I've
mean,
done that too. Like I've
Yeah.
had that book where I sell these prints and they're all my cosplays, and then the back of the book is the boudoir stuff. That's if somebody asks, then I'll direct them towards it, and kids aren't allowed to go past a certain page. Then they're done.
yeah. So that's the only thing that I think that they should crack down a little bit more on at cons,
agree.
just to because family friendly, keep it family friendly at the booths, especially for
Exactly.
images.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I agree.
I feel like regardless of the reasoning behind it, women get more attention at cons, especially women cosplayers get more attention. But I feel like with more attention also comes more of the negativity, more of the issues, more of the everything else, the whole bad side as well, right? I mean, it sucks. Don't get me wrong, I don't think it's right, but I guess sorry for saying this, it kind of comes with the territory. Is that how you have to see it?
Kinda,
I mean,
yeah.
how do you cosplay as a woman these days, knowing that that's the expectation now, and knowing that that's how you're going to be treated at cons? Like, do you have to go in with that mindset?
What do you say? Do you have a take on this?
I kind of feel like you do. I feel like you have to go in with that mindset, but at the same time, you have to be strong enough to, when faced with that, say something, speak up, stick up for yourself, or educate. There was one, I can give an instance. There was one con, and it's one of the smaller cons. It was one of the ones in London. And I'd been, joking around with my friends. A lot of them are male. Jeff's one of them. And then I had somebody I didn't know walk up to me and grab me full on. And at that point, I don't keep quiet anymore because you don't get to do that. And I've also had the same con actually, somebody come and like grab, but like also touch where they shouldn't be touching. And I was more of a child, but like a teenager. And I sat them down. I was like, look, you can ask. I'll tell you where you can touch me. And you can take that photo, but you can't walk up to female cosplayers or any cosplayers and just grab them. So you got to be able to express that, I feel, if you're going to be in that territory and doing the guest spots or even just cosplaying.
Yeah, I totally agree. It comes down to, again, that not everybody understands that that's not okay for some reason. I don't know why they don't understand, but they don't understand. So yeah, you have to be vocal and set your boundaries, but you do expect it. Like I guarantee, at least if you walk in being like, that's not going to happen to me, you're going to end up with a really bad experience.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you need to understand that it may happen to you, but address it properly, set them, in their place. Exactly. And if you feel uncomfortable or really awkward and, not safe, find somebody who is working the con and explain it and explain what happened and, make it aware that this does happen, because sometimes they look at you and go, that didn't really happen. Like you didn't really make a big deal out of it. It is a big deal. If you're uncomfortable and feel unsafe, reach out to those people. That's why they're there.
It's fine.
No,
I have an Egan.
Yeah. I like the education piece too. Like I did an event a few years ago. We have a music fest here in London called Rock the Park. And I got brought in as hired talent. They were promoting some TV show. So I was doing Negan for all 4 days. It was 4 hours a day for 4 days, and it was great. And we were with a group of cosplayers. And myself and another gentleman that was cosplaying Captain Jack Sparrow, who was excellent, by the way, he was so good. We were counting the number of photos that we got with people. And this is an event. This is a rock concert. So nobody is there as a geek or a nerd. and nobody is there expecting to see anybody dressed up. And we had our picture taken over 1,000 times, and it was just the best time, except one time. So I'm lined up with all my cosplay friends. There's 4 or 5 of us there, and someone comes up and they've got their phone out and they hand it to their friend. They're like, "Take a picture. I want to take a picture with the guys in the costume." We're like, "Cool." So we all line up, and this person takes a look up and down the row, sees me, puts their hand on my chest, and physically shoves me and says, "No, I hate your character. I don't want you in this picture." I was like, okay, no, and like I kind of staggered a bit. Like I'm not a small guy, but I wasn't expecting it at all. So I kind of staggered back and went off to the side. And they took a bunch of pictures. And as soon as the pictures were done, I asked the person to come over and talk to me for a second. And real quietly, just kind of off in private, I'm like, "That's not okay. I'm not a prop. I'm not a mannequin. You can't put your hands on me. What you just did was essentially assault. Moving forward, just because you're seeing somebody in a costume, that doesn't mean that you can put your hands on them. You've got to make sure that you're conducting yourself, like I said before, like we were in line at the bank or whatever." And to be fair, the person was really good about it. Once I kind of explained what the concept was and what we were trying to do and trying to accomplish, it was a concert. They'd had a little too much pregame, which they admitted. So they got a little handsy, but they apologized and they moved on. And hopefully that's going to mean their next interaction is going to be a better experience. But yeah, you don't know when and where it's going to happen. People will just put their hands on you with no thought whatsoever, because to them sometimes you're just a prop, and
Yeah.
Absolutely.
we're not props, man. That's not okay. So, and yeah, education piece is critical so that they know that moving forward. So
Very much so. I think education and being vocal about it is the only way people will ever get it, really. Because, like you said, some people just don't.
no,
They just don't get it.
Yeah.
So unless you say something, they're not going to get it. I want to switch it up a little bit here, guys. We're going to take a quick break of the cosplay conversation. And for everybody that hasn't been following the Geeks and Company either on Instagram or on YouTube, you don't know who Winston is. Winston is kind of our mascot around here. You can see him right over Jeff's left shoulder there. He's kind of the head geek, you know, our geek in charge or geek master, if you will. That's right. Winston's got a new segment for us here today. And, I think it's pretty easy. It's Winston's Champ or Chump, where we're going to do a little bit of a today superhero showdown. Who would win? So what are your thoughts, guys? Who's going to win between Batman and an Iron Man? I mean, let's go classic, right? This is the first time we're doing this. Two rich boys. What did Tony Stark? How did Tony Stark call himself? A billionaire
playboy philanthropist.
There you go. There you go. So who wins the fight between the two? Who wants to start?
I'm a Marvel girl.
Now, like I said earlier, if you don't say Batman, that's the wrong answer.
I'm a Marvel girl. I'm still gonna say Batman.
Awesome. Why is Batman winning against Iron Man?
So my reason is that as much as Iron Man had started training and working out and whatever when he became Iron Man, Batman had that opportunity from when he was a kid and he lost his parents and he decided to become Batman. So it's not just the toys, it's the physical as well.
I think it has a lot to do with the emotional as well. So I definitely would say Batman. He's fueled by anger. He will make anybody who's like messing anybody up feel the pain. It's just, yeah.
Here we go.
Yeah.
that guy.
Yeah.
Oh, just lost my.
Batman takes it.
Batman definitely takes it.
So here, the only thing I will say is this: if Iron Man jumps him, like if he doesn't know that they're going to fight, if it's just like comes up over a bridge and just hits him with a bunch of shit, then he's got a chance. But if Batman has any time at all to prep, like if he knows the fight's going to happen, it's Batman, dude. He's like the comic universe's Deus Ex Machina. Like if you just need somebody to do something and win somehow, it's going to be Batman pretty much every single time. So my light fell over. I'm just going to fix it. You guys talk amongst yourselves.
Yeah, no worries. I'm totally with you on this, Jeff. I mean, well, first of all, Batman's a freaking ninja.
Right.
I mean, Tony Stark is wet. He's a rich boy in a suit of armor. So and yes, Tony Stark is a genius. Yes, he's got all the toys. I mean, come on, Batman took down Superman.
I also think it helps that Batman and Bruce Wayne are two different people versus Iron Man being Iron Man.
Yeah, that's
Agreed.
definitely a negative for him because
you
he
hear
can be surprised as well.
By the way, the
Yeah.
real fight, by the way, I think is Batman versus Captain America. I think we'll have to crown a champ, which sounds like Batman, and then next week I think we have to pit Batman and Captain America, which did happen in the comics, by the way, and I'm not going to spoil it for those of those who haven't read Marvel versus DC, but it did happen in the comics, and someone did win that fight. So stay
It
tuned.
was Catwoman. It's fine.
It's always Catwoman.
So Jeff touched on something a little bit earlier. The fact that cosplay's become so big now, we're like he said, we're kind of in the golden age of cosplay. Cosplay is more popular than it's ever been. It's almost become mainstream. I mean, maybe not quite mainstream, but almost. Do you think we're at the peak? Do you think it's going to get even bigger? How did we even get to where we're at? How did cosplay get so big? I know, Jeff, you touched on it a little bit earlier, but curious to hear everybody else's thoughts.
I think because of COVID and everything being like shut down, it's going to be huge in the next couple of years. Like it's going to hit like a higher number of attendance and all the cons once everything starts opening. More cons are going to start showing up. All those types of things are going to flourish even more because everybody's kind of been sheltered and had the opportunity to do research, find out what cosplay is, find your favorite creators, follow more people. Like all of this it's going to make it bigger.
Candace, what do you think?
I think I agree, but I also feel like the cities that you're having the cons in now are kind of becoming part of it. So there's extra advertising. People are seeing that these things are happening and wanting to join in and wanting to see what they're like. And as soon as you do that, you kind of get hooked. So I agree that it's probably going to just get bigger.
I mean, I've never gotten a chance to go to San Diego Comic-Con. I don't know if anybody here has, but you have?
I was supposed to go, and then COVID hit.
No.
Yeah.
So now when you go to San Diego Comic-Con, you don't even need to go into the con.
Oh my God.
You've got stuff everywhere. Like the whole city.
The entire city.
Pop-up shops everywhere of, Avengers and DC and all the movies. And I mean, it's really become big business now.
Entire buildings with posters
and I think social media too. Again, I know earlier I was talking about the evils of that, but social media also gave us opportunity to connect with 4 disparate people that live in 4 completely different cities that never would have met each other or known each other. But social media allowed us to come together and celebrate a geekdom or a fandom that we like, or several geekdoms and fandoms that we like. So social media has played a massive role in bringing fandoms together, bringing people together, and then that snowball effect. My youngest daughter and her boyfriend now want to go to Fan Expo this year. They're going to come out on the Saturday. They're talking about the cosplays they want to do. And that's super, super cool. I mean, they're both pretty nerdy, but this will be their first big con with their cosplay. So yeah, it's just a snowball effect. And social media is definitely helping out with that, along with all the other terrible things it does. But it does that. That's good. So we're going to focus on that.
They're not staying at the hotel with you, are they?
Oh, God, no.
Okay, good.
Are you kidding me? If I know you're coming, I'd have my kids there when you're coming? No, sir.
He doesn't want them near me either.
No, you're all bad influences. You're all welcome to my hotel. My daughter will not be there, that's for sure.
What are you guys' thought on the whole make it or buy it thing? I mean, for me, I've always considered myself more of a prop maker than an actual cosplayer. I'm all about making stuff with my own hands. That's how I even got into cosplay, is because I wanted to make something specific, and I wanted to make a lightsaber. And that turned into making a Revan costume. And that became now 5 years, 6 years later, I'm still making stuff. What are your thoughts? Make it, buy it, somewhere in between?
I'm going to say something really quickly, and then I'm going to turn it over to the girls. I have nothing but the utmost respect for people that make their stuff. But if you think that makes you a better cosplayer, you're wrong. And too many people that get into that side of things do tend to kind of feel that way, especially some of the old school people that really didn't have a choice but to make it back in the day. They kind of look down their nose a little bit at people that buy it or commission it or what have you. And yeah, man, cosplay is out there for fun. And if you're having fun and bringing joy to people, I don't give a shit if you pulled it out of the garbage. If it works, it works. It doesn't matter how you got there.
Everybody cosplays for a different reason.
Yeah.
You know,
Absolutely.
you can't tell somebody that their cosplay is not cosplay.
Well, you can, but then you're a jerk.
Yeah, you're
Well, yeah, exactly.
I think there's a sense of accomplishment of making your stuff, but I'm with Jeff on this. Like, you're a cosplayer if you put on a costume.
Yeah, I mean, I make about 75% of all of my stuff, from props to full on everything. And I do have purchased ones as well, because sometimes I'm just like, yeah, I'm just gonna buy it. It's way easier. It's something that I know that my skill level is not there. It's a character I've wanted to do, but don't know where to start. Things like that. Like, there's no difference. And yeah, I'm with all of you guys. Like, you put on a costume and you're a cosplayer. Like, made or bought, doesn't much matter.
Where are you on this, JS? Have you actually ever bought one, or have you made everything you've done?
I mean, I've bought some stuff. I'm working on a Ghosts from Call of Duty costume, where it's all bought stuff.
Right.
Every single piece of it is bought. Some modified a little bit, but then I've got something where it's 100% built. Well, not the undersuit. The undersuit is bought, but otherwise 100% built. So I'm kind of the in between. I like to make as much as I can. Actually, I'm a little bit with Cutie on this one. I make most of my stuff just because I like to make. I will spend evenings sitting at my dining room table, listening to a podcast or listening to music or watching YouTube, sanding a friggin' gun that is not even mine. You know what I mean? So yeah, I just like to make. So that's why I make stuff.
Yeah, I'm a hands-on person too, so I like trying to make things as much as I can. But I mean, again, if I can't, I'll buy it. I have no shame in it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's nothing wrong with buying stuff. I mean, who cares?
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with making stuff. Making stuff is cool. As long as we all understand that we're all in this together and doing the same thing, then yeah, both things are totally valid.
Exactly. I
think-
think my biggest thing that I dislike with both people at cons is like, oh, well, I just bought it. And it's like they're ashamed to say that they purchased their cosplay.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? That's awesome. Like, where did you find it? Like, you know, because it's not easy to find good quality, like, store-bought
Sure isn't.
costumes.
No,
So exactly. So of
Yeah.
course, when they say that, it's kind of like, be proud of yourself. You did research. Like,
And let's be honest, most of the time when somebody says they bought it, it's not like they just bought a costume off the shelf. They
yeah.
bought all the pieces and put the costume together, right?
Oh, but even then, my Omni-Man that you were talking about earlier, I paid $67 for that
Yeah,
costume.
that's
and
just
it
a
got shipped
straight
right to the
yeah,
door.
exactly.
It's a unitard with a cape, my friend. That's all it is. It's got hands and footies on it.
And let's be honest, you make that suit, bud.
I appreciate that. Thank you. But you know what I'm saying? Like, you can still do that, and you don't have to put disparate pieces together at all. You don't have to make
at
anything.
all.
You can just buy something and have it shipped right to your door, and it fits like a glove, and you can walk right outside with it with a dance belt on, as we talked about earlier. Absolutely, yes. I have a dance belt and an athletic support. Come on, man. I make sure I'm not.
You're packing. Sorry.
This week's podcast is Rated R, brought to you by Canadian Comic Cutie.
Hey, I want to talk about TV show and movie costumes. I mean, obviously, with cosplay, you know, the evolution of cosplays, I feel like getting better and better and better, you know, year over year. TV show costumes have been getting crazy. What's your favorite? Who's your favorite, or what is your favorite super suit?
I got to admit, I like the movie overall. Don't get me wrong, but Idris Elba's suit in the Suicide Squad is so pimp.
Dope as
It
hell.
is so bad. It's so intricate and detailed, and that helmet, oh man, like he looks so good.
A lot of props already has that helmet ready to go.
It's so crazy great, and I mean, you got to put a nod to the Mandalorian too, because I mean that suit is just totally badass. But yeah, Bloodsport from the Suicide Squad, I think, is my current favorite.
I'm a Loki
current stuff, anyways.
Yeah.
Loki had so many great costumes this year. I mean, classic Loki. That was
Oh yeah,
so
that
amazing.
one with the dress shirt and the necktie and the pants.
Oh, that was awesome,
man,
too.
let me tell you, that was
President
super
Loki or
badass.
whatever he was called. Yeah.
No. I just mean like TVA Loki walking
Oh,
around with just
TVA
like
Loki,
a
right.
yeah. I was like, oh, good, he looks like my accountant. That's a great guy. I'm just.
I don't know if any of you have
Good.
been. Obviously, Cutie couldn't the Avenger Station.
No, you know what? Funny
I
enough,
haven't been
I
there
was
either, no.
actually planning on going last weekend, and I didn't make it. So I'm hoping I can actually maybe make it this weekend.
They've
Yeah.
got some of the costumes there, and to actually see it up close, the amount of detail that you don't see in the movies is incredible.
Yeah, I'll bet.
Yeah, I feel like
I
they
don't-
almost do that on purpose, right? They add details in
do.
there just for layering effect, right? You're not actually ever going to see it or notice it, but it
Yeah.
gives that rich, real feel to their costumes.
The texture and like just everything, it's
Mhm.
incredible.
I'm trying to think of what my like favorite one would be. I would probably say, just because I'm one of those people and I'm a huge Wonder Woman fan, I really liked her gold armor.
So pimp.
Yeah.
So pimp. So
Mhm.
dope.
Right?
Yes,
I was like,
loved
well,
it.
that's pretty.
Yeah.
It wasn't on
And
screen for
functional.
nearly long enough.
No, that was
Exactly.
super badass.
It should have had more like screen time.
Yeah.
As much as Marvel's costume game is on point, I have kind of two. For one, Titans. Something about those Robin outfits in Titans. They completely changed my way of viewing a Robin suit. To me, Robin was always the old school gymnast style outfit, and they really
Spandex.
made it into a proper armored Robin suit. So that I loved. But Snyder's Batman.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
There's something about that
Such
Dark
a
Knight
beast.
Returns style suit
dude.
with the short ears
Yep.
and more of the old school tights style suit, even though we all know he had a bodysuit under it with a muscle suit, and it was like 14 layers, but I think you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. No, pimp. So good. Loved it.
So what's everybody working on right now? I know, Jeff, you talked about a little bit last week, but, for the... yeah, exactly. Show us what you're working on right now. There it is.
So this is the beginnings of, so there's your polyfill here, and there's a second piece that will come into the back here that's out of reach right now that will allow me to, and they'll be strapping in there, so I will put it on like a goalie mask, I guess you'd say, or like a face helmet. So yes,
like
much
elastic straps, basically.
Yes.
Making it.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
So it'll, and then I have coming in from, I just ordered from Walmart, I have interior pads, like helmet pads that I'll throw in there. So yeah, someone saw the movie and was like, oh, he's like a douchey Captain America. That would be really good for you to do. And I was like, oh, okay.
Nailed it.
All right. Yeah,
He's
fine.
a douchebag, Jeff's got it.
So I have a bunch of other things that I'm working on, but that's the key piece right now. I'm trying to get that one ready to go as soon as possible for photo shoots and stuff. So yeah.
What are you doing for the soft parts of the suit?
Yeah. Hey, here we go. Right. This is perfect. This is a good segue. So I bought the shirt and pants and the gloves. Yes. So I'm going to use boots or cosplaysky.ca.
Oh,
is where I
and
got
the full outfit.
So I'm using my own boots, and I'm obviously doing that, and I will have the gun 3D printed as well. So, but cosplaysky.ca was good because it's free shipping in Canada over a certain amount. So I know.
It's a great
so
sign.
yeah, I'm getting it without. Yes, cosplaysky.ca. Yeah.
Oh, I never heard of these guys.
They have the .com site is quite popular, but I didn't know they had a Canadian site either. So I just discovered it, and then when I went to the shipping site and put in my address, and it said, "Oh, free shipping." I was like, sorry, what?" Yeah. So that's happening.
That's my tonight browsing.
Yep. There you go. You're welcome. Enjoy that, guys.
Nice, I mean, they're not cheap, but they have some really nice costumes on here. Holy.
They're really good quality, actually, surprisingly.
Yeah. So just the fit, like it won't be custom measured. I'm just going to get a fit, and then if it needs to be adjusted, I'll just take it to one of the people that I know that can sew and get some tuck here or some loose out there, and then go from there. So should be fun.
Very cool.
Yeah,
Kenneth, what are you working on?
Still Lady Loki. That one I'm trying to get finished up
As
now.
in Sylvie, you mean, or like
no,
Lady Loki in
comic
general?
book comic book Lady Loki. That's my favorite. That's the one I want to
Nice.
do. I might do Sylvie. I like Sylvie, but comic book Lady Loki is the one that I love. I was actually going to do Huntress for Toronto Comic Con before everything shut down. I have the suit that I bought, but they got the colors wrong, so I'm redoing that as well. So
As
I'm
in,
actually
it's not purple.
part of it is blue, actually. The parts that should be black, I guess they saw the lighting wrong before they made it, and they made those parts like a dark blue.
They
And there's
sometimes
nothing
do
I
that.
can do about it. Yeah, they jump on it so quickly that they get the details wrong. So I'm taking the accessories from that. I'm dyeing them because they're all blue as well. But like the suit itself is a wash, so that's a whole new thing.
And Cutie, what 37 costumes are you working on right now?
Well, funny thing, actually, because Halloween's coming, I do 13 days of Halloween. So
You're
I'm
kidding
working
Only
right?
13. Oh, that's
Only
terrible.
13.
So
you
disappointed in
know.
you right now.
Why not
Terrible.
30, 31?
Let's
Come
bump
on.
that up, shall we?
Yeah, okay. But yeah, so I'm working on some of those looks because I need to get them shot before Halloween because I'm coming to Fan Expo and I won't
Yeah,
have
you
time
are.
to kind of work on some stuff. But I'm also working on a new Wonder Woman mashup. And I'm hoping it'll be done by the end of next week. And it's a Power Rangers Wonder Woman mashup.
Nice.
Ooh.
Yeah. So I
Ooh,
seen
we
some
should-
fan art.
We should have a conversation. I have a Power Rangers Spider-Man mashup already.
Okay, yeah, we
I
need
will
to have this.
I will send you a picture. Yeah, it's pretty dope. It's a fun suit, so I'll send you the
Nice.
picture for sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
Anyway,
because
sorry.
I've done Scorpina from the original Power Rangers, and I did a putty bunny for Easter. So I made, I have the putty mask with the hands and then the bunny suit, and yeah, we don't condone half the stuff I do. It's fine. It's yeah, that's a thing. But yeah, so this Power Rangers Wonder Woman mashup hopefully will be done. I made the morpher myself, so it's custom, and then I didn't have to worry about wrecking my morpher, and so that's kind of what I'm working on, which is a foam helmet, and it's been giving me grief, but slow and steady.
What about you, JS?
Like I said earlier, I'm still working on this damn cable cosplay, which I think I've said for 3 weeks in a row now. It's just been kicking my ass. Actually, the gun, I just put my first layer of paint down on the gun today.
Ooh, nice.
The person I'm actually making this for, though, has asked me to not post any more pictures of the gun until it's actually done.
That's legit.
Which, you know what, I'm completely cool with that. But yeah, it's freaking massive. It's like 4 foot long.
Yeah,
So it's going to be awesome. Modifying this guy a little bit. Actually, I'm meeting my buddy who I built these with. Me and my buddy each built a Predator. We're adding sounds to them. I think I mentioned that last week as well. Yeah, so we're adding sound speakers, an actual sound glove this way. That'll give us 4 different sounds. Screams, the Predator clicking noise.
Nice.
I can't do it, but so we'll be able to do a bunch of stuff. That's basically what I'm working on now. And this, I've been busy trying to get this stuff going. The channel, the Geeks and Company YouTube channel, the Instagram page. Hey, good segue. If somebody's not following us yet, make sure you click subscribe. You know, if you're listening to this podcast, actually, if you quit and are now listening to this podcast on one of the podcast platforms, make sure you follow us so that you get the next episode when it comes out. That's the nice thing about Podbean. If anybody's not using Podbean and wants to get into podcasting, the minute you publish an episode, it's going to publish it to all the platforms at the same time. So this will be the first week where this podcast actually goes live at the same time online and on YouTube. So that will be pretty cool.
Yay!
Hey,
That's awesome.
Thanks everybody very much for joining us. I know Tanith and Cutie, this was a little bit last minute, but really appreciate you coming on. It's awesome to be able to get the perspective of especially female cosplayers in today's world. It's so different, like Jeff was saying, for us and you guys, that it's amazing that you guys are able to come on and tell us a little bit about it. And really appreciate it. Why don't you take a minute and tell everybody where they can find you online? Who wants to start?
Go ahead.
All right.
Tanith, how about you start?
Everything for me, I don't really work on my Facebook page, so Instagram, Loki Quinn Cosplay, one word. You can find me there. I don't really do personal Facebook for people that I don't know, so that's the only platform I have right now. I don't do TikTok either.
I gotta get on TikTok. We were again talking about that earlier.
Yes, you have to
Yeah.
on TikTok.
I'm
Yeah.
old. Come on, guys, I'm 43.
I was very
Cutie, what about you?
My name is kind of the same on all platforms. So Canadian Comic Cutie. I do have YouTube. I have TikTok. I have Instagram. I actually have 2 Instagrams. One is Canadian Comic Cutie. The other one is Canadian Comic Cutie 2.0. The 2.0 is where I share more of my like behind the scenes, work in progress, that type of thing versus finished and photo shoots. And a lot of my TikToks will be on there as well. So, I mean, if you just look up my name, you'll find absolutely every link possible.
Awesome. Jeff, want to remind everybody where they can find you, even though it's already right there on the screen?
Yeah, so Messiah Complex Cosplay across all social media, including the new Original Glaze, which is the new platform for cosplayers. So I'm on there. Yeah, Twitter, Vero, Facebook, Instagram. Most of the stuff you're going to find is going to be on Instagram. I am also not on TikTok. Sorry, guys. Same excuse as Tanith, but I'm even older than her.
Slightly.
Yes, we also have the domain www.messiahcomplexcosplay.com. There are some placeholder images there right now, but the goal is see past events, see current events, see future events, be able to book and buy merch all from one site where you'll also be able to link out to all the different social media platforms and such. But yeah, if you Google Messiah Complex Cosplay, you're going to see my stuff for sure. So
Awesome. And you can find us, Geeks & Co. on YouTube and at Geeks & Co. on Instagram. My personal Instagram, JSBelanger1701, which is not really important because, hey, we need to push Geeks & Company right now. But thank you very much, everybody, again, for joining us. Everybody that's been listening through this, an hour and 6-minute podcast. Again, I really, really appreciate everybody sticking around. But we're going to make sure to see you next time.